What if your content didn't need to reach everyone, just the right people in your community? Today's guest is Kristen Goss, a family law attorney in Florida, founder of KWG Law, and host of Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition, a locally focused YouTube show designed to educate families on a more collaborative civil approach to divorce. In this episode, we talk about what it actually looks like to create consistent content as a busy professional without becoming a full-time creator. Kristen shares how she built a simple, hands-off production workflow, why she focuses on local SEO instead of a broad reach strategy, and how her show is helping her build trust within her community. If you've ever wondered how to make content work for your business without overcomplicating it, this is one you'll want to hear. Welcome to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. I'm Virginia Elder, founder of Podcast Abundance, where we help you use podcasting to market your business, to increase your authority, to get more eyes on your practice, and to capture leads for your business. If you're an investment advisor, tax strategist, business finance sleuth, or wealth management professional who wants your podcast to actually support growth, not just create content, you're in the right place. I made the podcast conversion blueprint just for you. It walks you through exactly how to turn your listeners into clients using a simple framework you can apply right away. The link is in the show notes. Here we go into today's episode. Kristen, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me, Virginia. I really appreciate it.
Of course. We all are dying to hear about you and your background and what KWG is.
KWG stands for Kristen Walker Goss, and I would not be doing what I'm doing if it weren't for my parents. Both of them, unfortunately, are no longer here. My mom passed in 2010 and my dad in 2014. But they were very big advocates of me accomplishing my goals and being an attorney, and they supported me every step of the way. So I would, again, not be here if it weren't for my parents.
Oh, amazing. So I can just imagine at that point, encouraging you to go to law school, encouraging you to do your thing. Did you intern? Kind of what was your journey to establishing your own law firm?
I knew I wanted to be a family attorney very early on. I would say my mom was a social worker and my dad was a pastor, and I observed them helping families and counseling families, and I developed a love for wanting to help families, but I also love rules and policies and procedures. So I volunteered a lot at teen court, at the courthouse, high school years. And then after college, I did go to Thomas M. Cooley Law School. I went to University of Miami, go Canes, for undergrad. And my concentration in law school was litigation. I interned at a family law office, also a criminal defense firm. I was a CASA up in Michigan. That is the same as a guardian ad litem in Florida, a court-appointed special advocate. So being the voice for children who are abused and neglected, that was a great experience volunteer-wise. And then with my law school, the last semester of law school, they had an externship where you could go wherever you planned on practicing. I'm a South Floridian through and through, born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, and I knew I would want to come back home. So I interned at the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, which was an extremely beneficial, supportive environment. I was able to basically try cases because I was a certified legal intern as long as there was an attorney, a licensed attorney present in court with me. And so that was a great experience to, getting my feet wet.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So then tell me when you established KWG, and then give us like a little timeline there of maybe some marketing and things that you tried as you were building your firm. And when did YouTube and, this podcast idea and all that kind of come to existence?
So from 2010 to 2014, I took a hiatus. I graduated from law school in 2010. But as I indicated, my mom passed away in 2010, which was 2 days before I graduated from law school.
I'm
And my
so
dad
sorry.
had, thank you, my dad had dementia. And so from 2010 to 2014, I left the legal industry for a minute, went into financial advising because of my dad and his condition and all of that. And he had cancer. And then 2014 is when I got licensed to start practicing law. I worked for someone for 2 years doing family law primarily. And I decided June of 2016 to go out on my own. To be honest, there was no rhyme or reason. It was pretty much just to have a flexible schedule. I have three daughters now. At the
Mhm.
time, my middle daughter, she was born without oxygen, and I had to go through physical and occupational therapy with her
Yeah.
for the first 3 years of her life.
Yeah.
So just for the flexibility. But I knew purple is like my color. It's my thing, purple lavender. I knew that I wanted to have a theme, a brand with purple in it. And I knew that KWG is something that resonated with me, like I said, because I wanted the legacy for my parents to continue. So that was kind of how the logo started, like some thoughts about that. And for me, as you know, purple, it means royalty and just soft. It's a soft color. I wanted to be approachable for clients who are going through a really rough time. And then 2020, January of 2020, right before the pandemic, I was collaboratively trained, and that changed the trajectory of my life and how I viewed family law. I always thought, okay, as an attorney, you have to go to court, you have to litigate, you have to fight. It was a little bit ironic to me, honestly, because I feel like family law is one of the most humanistic parts of the law. You're dealing with a lot of people who are going through trauma and grief and emotions. And I thought that there had to have been a better way or an alternative. And I was like, this is exactly ideally how I would want to help and advocate for families and being able to do it outside of court, still being able to provide legal advice to my clients, but staying resolution focused, using interest based skills. A lot of those skills I learned in undergrad, believe it or not. I majored in communication studies, so I
Oh,
focused a lot on public speaking, how to communicate across cultures, how to communicate interpersonally, all kinds of different types of communication, conflict resolution. And so utilizing those skills, utilizing my mediation skills, because I am also a Florida Supreme Court family mediator, being able to add to that and advocate and provide the law to my clients, but doing it in a way that is resolution focused.
I love that. Okay. So then, yeah, this collaboration training like probably completely shifted like you said, it changed your life. So is that kind of when you started saying like, I need to talk about this?
Absolutely, because collaborative law has been around since 1990. It started
Hmm.
from someone called Stu Webb in Minnesota, and California has been way advanced in this. But it's been a statute in Florida since 2017, so that's almost 10 years. But
Wow.
it still is something that a lot of people don't know about as an option to, opposed to traditional litigation where you're filing in court and everything is public, you're battling it out. It's an alternative method of proceeding with a family law matter. And that was actually the reason why I wanted to start my podcast, to be able to provide that education to the public and let them know that there is another way that if they choose, it's up to them. Honestly, I believe that would really be, even though it's beneficial, it is the client's decision and it's not for everyone because not everyone wants to proceed that way. And I tell my clients this all the time, you can only control yourself. And so if the other side doesn't want to proceed collaboratively, then you can't. So But at least having it as an option and for people to know that it's there.
Quick question. Is your podcast actually bringing in clients or just downloads? Those are two very different things. If you want your podcast to generate leads for your business, you need more than great content. You need a conversion strategy, which is exactly why I made the podcast conversion blueprint. With this free download, you learn how to structure your episodes, what to say in your call to action, and how to move listeners into your pipeline for your business. If you want to start growing your business with podcasting, grab the link in the show notes and download the podcast conversion blueprint today. So, in thinking about your show, it is called Civility Wins, which I love that title. It seems so on point. You know, somebody would be searching for like, how do I have a civil divorce? How do I collaborate through my divorce with the partner? Like, how do I work with this person, right? Because a lot of times by the time you decide we are splitting, we are done, it's over. I mean, you're at odds. There's some hurt feelings, at least, if not hurt more other things, right? You mentioned there could be various abuses involved, you know, a lot of challenges with splits. Yeah, I think the term that you used as far as titling your show is really, really great. If you would talk about kind of how you came up with that title and if you mapped out your keywords, or like, were you even thinking that far, or how did you plan out, you know, okay, these are my topics. These are my content pillars. Like, were you thinking in that way, or how did that process look like for you?
Great question. So I kind of cheated, or not cheated. I shouldn't say cheated. I co-authored a book, I would say 2019, 2020 with a colleague. And the name of that book was Civility Wins, Find Your Peace While Taming the Beast.
Okay.
And it started from just us venting. We both are lawyers, went to law school, actually the same law school, but just different times, and the same undergrad, just different times. We met after practicing and connected on various issues, and we just started it as a venting process. And we said, you know what, let's turn this into a book. So that's initially where Civility Wins came from. But I always said I wanted to do something centered specifically on family law because, like you said, for me, I'm a very logical person, and civility, the whole aspect of collaborative law, collaborative divorce goes hand in hand. And so I'm like, Civility Wins, the family law edition. So let's continue the conversation. And that's how that came about. I just started to say, you know, let's talk about collaborative divorce, how that works. You know, all of the people that are involved, the other attorney who's representing the other spouse, bringing on mental health professionals who usually serve as the facilitator, they're collaboratively trained, bringing on financial neutrals, the forensic accountants who are neutral and they're collaboratively trained. Let's have a panel for Women's History Month. I decided to have a panel of women entrepreneurs, you know, let's kind of tailor this to uplifting, you know, just finding different things and tapping into my creative juices, I guess you could say, and things that tie into divorce. It's a transition. People are dealing with changing in their finances. So a lot of financial wealth advisors are guests. Special needs is something that oftentimes comes up. And so bringing on a behavioral specialist who specializes with children who have special needs and how that can really play a crucial role when you're developing the parenting plan. And so, yeah, just thinking about out of the box ways of making it not just educational, but something that people can really relate to. And so it's all about helping and providing education and a little entertainment also.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Now, the other thing I really quickly noticed was that I'm seeing in studio setup
Mm-hmm.
and, full video on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to the folks listening about your decision on like why you chose to do this inside a studio versus virtual, like you and I are doing. Did you know about all your options? Like, was there a lot of research there? Or like, what did you think through as far as your choices on what the production should look like?
The short answer to that is I didn't really think through anything.
Hey, that's an answer too.
But it's really like for me, what's going to be the easiest? I don't want to figure it out. I want something that's easy. And so a friend of mine, she is also an attorney, a trademark patent attorney, and she also has this content studio for podcasting, and said, you know what, can I use your studio once a month? Simple, show up, give the SD card to whoever is there. They plug everything in, press the button, and then I just go. And I'm like, okay, that's simple enough. And then send it over to my editor, and he does the rest. So for me, it's what was simple. That's what I was looking for.
Okay. Yeah. And I think you're not alone in that perspective. I think many entrepreneurs, business owners, whether you want to say, attorneys, financial professionals, medical professionals, like if you're looking at hosting a show for your business, we all know you're already busy, right? Like you have client work to deal with, you have various meetings. You mentioned being part of, Florida state law, I know your schedule's insane. So when you can find a studio and understand the process of how to get your show published, it looks so much more simple. So I love that little behind the scenes look there. And just for folks listening, I don't know if I've ever shared our process before, but you and I record like this. My clients do a very similar setup. And I just download both of our tracks out of Riverside, send it to my editing team, and then they take care of the rest. And that's like exactly what we do for our clients. So sometimes we'll log into a client's Riverside account, or there's a few other companies out there, and we'll pull down the files for them. But it's a very similar thing. It's like you record and you're done. I do see you've got some shorts going on the YouTube channel. Were you always doing those, or what was the impetus behind also doing shorts?
AI.
Okay.
Everyone's talking about AI these days, and it's forever changing.
Yeah.
So just to try to keep up with the Joneses, as they say, I said, okay, this is what people are doing, so I have to do something that, something quick that catches people's attention, drives the point across. That's what I want to do. And at the end of the day, that's what I want to accomplish. And it's the goal.
Yeah. And if it's, available, right? Like if the AI is available, if the clips that you get are decent, I mean, put them out there. It's just a way to get folks who might hang out in like a different feed, right? Because they're in the shorts feed scrolling, similar to how people would use Instagram or something like that. But yeah, you get their eyeballs. And the thing I love about YouTube Shorts is that you can, as long as the full length video is posted first, you can actually, when you post your short, there's a little spot where you can go in and you can tell it which long form related video that short belongs to.
Nice.
And so that's like a great way to kind of breadcrumb people over to your full episode.
I like that.
Yeah. And are you posting those same, shorts, but of course on LinkedIn or anywhere else they're called Reels? Are you posting them on those platforms and seeing some traction as well?
Yes. Instagram especially.
And so are clients finding you on Instagram, or is that just like your personal joy, where you hop over there? Or what are you seeing as far as like business with socials, with YouTube? Like, where are people finding you?
I would say majority is Instagram, more traction, people that I know even, or maybe don't know them directly, but they've heard of me for sure. Instagram, and I have gotten a client from Instagram, so it's
Yeah,
working.
that's
Yeah,
the dream right there.
yeah, yeah.
I know you have a production team. They do your editing. Maybe they run the AI for your shorts. I'm assuming they're titling your episodes and writing show notes and posting it. What kind of conversations are you guys having about, the keywords that they should be using or how you want your episodes titled, right? Because anybody could pull something down and run it through AI and go, okay, here's the title for you. It may not be reflective of what you wanted the title to read because like maybe you had some specific keywords and like maybe someone asked you about that before so you know what should be in that title. How do you guys work that out?
So that is a work in progress, I must say. Yeah, for sure. I don't think that to date I have mastered that. I haven't even like the whole keywords concept is very new to me. And I'm like, oh, I have to, I just say what I say. But yes, you have a great question. And that's something that I can for sure work on in regards to being more strategic.
Well, the nice thing about titles, at least on YouTube, and the full description, actually, you can go into any old episode and mess with the title and rejig the description and all that, and just hit save, and it doesn't affect the views of that video. You're like your prior history with that video. It doesn't repost your episode to the top. It doesn't like mess up anything. It can only improve or if you did it the wrong way, maybe diminish who's seeing your episode. But those are fully adjustable, like at all times, right? So if you found a new AI, popped that video into there and said, like, let me just see what keywords this thing pulls for me. And let me make up a new title based on what it says, you could change that title like anytime you wanted. So yeah, very flexible there. And same with most for the folks doing like an audio podcast within your podcast host account where it's being fed to Apple and everything, you can change titles and things like that without affecting post sequence or the timing that the episode went live or anything like that. So
That's
yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. Just like a fun thing you can do when you have extra time. Because I know you have so much of it, right?
Yes, thanks so much. You were reading my mind.
You're like, when am I going to do that? But that's what VAs are for, admin,
Yeah.
even like podcast strategy. I mean, sometimes that's what we're doing is going through like the back end library and optimizing things. So dorks like me think that's fun. Okay, talk to me about, a lot of times I think it would really hit home to hear like a story about a situation that you worked through with clients. But of course, you have to be really careful about details that you're exposing. Obviously, you're not sharing their names, things like that. So have you kind of found your way when it comes to sharing a client story or sharing a case study, that type of thing, where you're actually alluding to something that really happened, but you're having to be careful about the details? Because my thought there is that listeners also going through a very similar situation have the opportunity to see themselves in that story. And that would be really attractive, I think, for your business. So talk to me. Have you had the chance to do that?
That's amazing. I'm glad you asked that question. I have not, because the way I structured my podcast is I'm bringing people on and I'm interviewing them. If I am a guest on someone else's podcast and that's a topic, then I would likely share a story. Of course, being very cautious of names and things of that nature. But you basically made me remember about this. I am working on a book, another book that I'm writing myself, and it's going to be really speaking to my ideal client. And I'm excited because let's say within the next 60 days, 60 to 90 days, it should be completed. And yeah, I think that like, and as I'm writing and working on what am I going to say? This is my focus. A lot of stories are coming to light in the book. And my hope is that it would really resonate with my ideal client and allow them the opportunity to seek me out so that we can that I can help them and advocate for them and, get them out of a really, really tough situation. And so I think it's just a lot of times people not knowing what direction to take, feeling stuck, a lot of different emotions going on, even though the status quo sucks and is toxic, it's what you know. And being an encouraging person in the process to like say, okay, yes, I've read the book. And because I read the book, it really made me take action is what is what I want.
Congratulations. I love that. I'm thinking maybe by the time this episode airs, your book should be out there. So we will be hunting down your book link so that we can put it in the show notes. So everybody keep an eye out for that. I started to think about how your show and your positioning is a little different than, for example, mine and many business owners, because while many of us have an opportunity to serve people all over the country, your opportunity is extremely local, right? So as a business owner who is, and this sounds bad, but it's not a bad thing. So you're like limited in your area of service, right? Florida is where you're licensed. So that's where you practice. So your positioning for your business, all your marketing, your show, everything has to be intentional to issues that are being seen in your area. You're having on business owners in person, obviously, so they are local to you. So you're focused on working that local network in a very different way than some of the like national podcasts might, or like how even I can serve clients all over the country. So aside from inviting other folks that are local to you, what comes to mind as far as how you're getting seen in your community and kind of expanding your reach and reaching these ideal clients?
Yeah. As you can imagine, there's a lot of relocation, New York to Florida, California to Florida. I've had a series of cases where I've had relocation matters. And so you've perked another, thing in my brain up here that's going not 10 miles an hour. That would be really slow, 100 miles an hour. So yeah, definitely would love to. I would probably have to tap into more of the virtual and look into that to be able to reach people who are outside of the local but have some type of connection to South Florida.
Yeah. Well, so as a business owner, I know you already mentioned several ways that you're involved in local law, local networking groups. Can you share a little bit more about how you get out into your community? And I'm asking because I think it might prompt some other folks listening to go, oh, okay, that's a great idea. Like I should do that. Why am I not doing that?
Yeah. Gosh, I'm involved in a lot of different local groups. There's the Women's Executive Club. There is Miss Esquire, which is not just women attorneys. It's a host of other professionals involved that are also men. Just being active in the community, I founded a nonprofit in 2003. It focuses on children who are in foster care. So any child related issues are like, that's where my heart is. So anytime I'm able to give back in that respect, serving as a guardian ad litem in the dependency sector of children who have been taken from their homes and placed in foster care or placed with a relative because of allegations of abuse and neglect. My mom was an Air Force veteran, so veterans' rights and issues hits home for me as well. So I serve as a volunteer with Missions United, which is a branch of United Way locally in the community. And anytime they need support financially or a volunteer, if I have the ability and capacity to do it, I will help out and serve in that respect. So a lot of different things, going on in the community locally with nonprofits or just colleagues in general in women's issues.
Wow. Well, I love all the involvement and all the causes that you support. Like that just, wow. Like that gives us a really good look into your heart and soul. And it's very beautiful. And that also gives us lots of ideas about like, oh, like my mom did that, or my dad was this, or, just helps us jog our minds about like, let me Google if there's something like that in my area, especially if you are, somewhat limited in the area that your business can serve, because that is, this total shift from like nationwide marketing to like very local marketing. And you don't think, oh, I'm going to volunteer for this thing because I'm marketing. No, but it's all about connections and it's all about being out there and available. You never know what questions somebody might ask you, or if you might hear that someone else is dealing with an issue where you can help. So that's a great way to be kind of like in alignment with your values and serving your soul, but then also doing good for your business.
Going back to serving in the community, teaching and educating the next generation, starting from home. So to the extent I'm able to involve my girls, I do as well. And, constantly talking to them about how blessed and fortunate they are. And to always, my parents always taught me, instill this in me, and I am in my girls, regardless of how much you accomplish in life, never forget, the basics and remain humble. And so, to the extent that I can also, again, give back to the next generation and encourage them to give to their community as well, to whatever capacity that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the show or about content.
I mean, I know that you mentioned estate planning, and when there is a change, such as a divorce, oftentimes I speak to my clients and encourage them on the necessity of having something in place if they don't. I went through guardianship when my dad, was sick, and 2 years of probate litigation, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And so I developed also a passion for educating families in that respect, to make sure that they have their affairs in order to avoid that. Don't wait too late. I've seen too many times where people wait too late and there's nothing that can be done. And so while you're experiencing the grief and the loss of a loved one, that's horrible in and of itself. You don't want to complicate it and further place additional stress unnecessarily. And so that is something for sure that we discuss on the podcast as well. The importance to remain proactive at all costs. And then we talk about fun stuff like prenups, You're engaged to be married. Oh, congratulations. Do you have a prenup?
And like all of these topics, the initial reaction of like the public is like, wow, like you just asked me about prenup, I just got engaged. Like, it's that pullback. And so I think that's the beauty of having professionals like you creating content that's like free and accessible, and it's not just the accessibility that it's available, but it feels non-confrontational to just like pop on and like listen to a show, right? Like I can search my phone like in the privacy, like nobody needs to know what I'm listening to, right? And I can learn from like an open source about whatever it is, the estate planning, the divorce process, prenups, like any of these kind of like scary things that are out there. And that's the same for financial professionals. I mean, there are people that are terrified that they haven't invested enough, right? And they would go to their grave to not admit to their friends this fear, right? But that's like the good that I think comes from having law, medical, financial, all of these quote unquote scary things being put on podcasts. So I love, love, love that you're doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. You made me think of one more thing. It's being a caregiver. We talk about that, and if someone doesn't have long-term care, the implications of that, and how that places additional stressors on the family, and remaining proactive in regards to that as well. So just different things that center around the family, and having the family be as holistic as possible.
Yeah. When it comes to, content creation, you've got the YouTube channel. We talked a little bit about posting on socials. What do you feel is like the marketing thing that has gotten your business the most traction?
I would say the main theme is consistency. Being consistent, whatever that looks like for me, it looks differently for me versus you versus someone else. Whatever that cadence is, establish it. It doesn't have to be. I say this all the time, and I forgot where I originally heard it from, but it's said a lot. Done is better than perfect. Start somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just remain consistent, and people develop a trust, I think, over time when you're consistent, and they become aware of you. It's like they know you if you're constantly showing up and just being your authentic self. So
how do you balance this, done is better than perfect perspective, like, keep that over here, and then hang on, but I'm an attorney, I'm professional, I need to be seen in a certain way over here, right? Like that's a really hard marriage between the two of those. Like, and the easiest, like dumbest example of this is like, do I have to put on makeup to get on camera? Right. It's just like the silliest thing for women. But yeah, how do you marry those two thoughts? Like, I'm a professional, I need to be seen in this certain light, in this certain way. My show has to look professional. I need to sound professional. Like I, charge a decent fee for my services, so I need to look like I'm worth it, versus done is better than perfect.
yes. Oh, that is a tough question. I still would say go back to being authentic. Honestly, you mentioned makeup. I don't wear makeup. I don't wear makeup if I'm in court. I don't wear makeup if I'm on a podcast. That's just me. And I think that it comes with the balance of knowing who you are, what your boundaries are, what you will do, knowing your core values and sticking to it and showing up as that, being authentic. When I'm in court, I don't think that I change much other than, I'm going to wear something that's maybe a suit, not, more lax. And, there's certain protocols when you're going to court. But again, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm a soft-spoken person in general. So I'm going to be soft-spoken in court. I'm not going to just start yelling and Your Honor, I'm just going to be Kristen. So I think having a balance, knowing your audience, but still at the core, never leaving and getting away from your core values and who you are, being confident in who you are.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you. Now, of course, there's kwglaw.net. We mentioned your show on YouTube, Civility Wins. Where else do you want people to find and follow you? You mentioned Instagram. You said you're Instagram girl. Like, where should we really go to find you?
Yes, you mentioned, yes, YouTube, Civility Wins the Family Law Edition. That's one place. LinkedIn, Kristen Goss, I'm on there. Instagram, of course, KWG Law, kwglaw.net is my website. And you can reach out to me, Kristen at kwglaw.net. And that's KRISTEN at kwglaw.net.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it and enjoy the conversation. Thank you for having me.
Kristen's approach is such a refreshing reminder that your content doesn't have to be complicated to be effective. She built a show that fits her life, her values, and her business, recording locally, keeping production simple, and focusing on serving the exact community she's licensed to help. And because of that, her content is naturally building trust, visibility, and connection in all the right places. If there's one takeaway here, it's this: you don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be intentional. Like Kristen said, done is better than perfect. Start with what's sustainable, publish consistently, whatever that looks like for you, and let your strategy evolve as you go. That's how content stays long term, stays sustainable, and becomes a business asset. Thanks so much for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. If you want your show to do more than just educate, if you want it to generate leads and bring in clients consistently for the long haul, make sure you're using the Podcast Conversion Blueprint. This free download helps you structure your podcast to attract new listeners, refine your messaging to nurture them, and capture those listeners when they're ready as your next best clients. And of course, practicing what I preach when you sign up for your free download of the Podcast Conversion Blueprint, you're going to land on my email list. Hit reply to any newsletter because I'd love to learn about your show or about your ideas for a show. I'll point you toward your next best step, whether that be light support like an audit of your show or becoming a member of the Academy, or maybe you need full service strategy and accountability like what I do inside the Podcast Conversion Lab. Thanks again for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. If you enjoyed today's episode, stick around for the next few episodes because each one incrementally helps you improve your podcast.